Alright, now that the dust has finally settled after the first ever CS2 major, there's been this lingering question on the minds of some CS fans. Did NAVI actually need s1mple? Well, I've spent way too much time trying to figure out this answer, so let's settle in and try to put this question to rest for good. Okay, we all know about s1mple's troubles with CS2, that he stepped down from NAVI to take a break for several months until his bizarre and lackluster return to Team Falcons for just a single best of 3. But ever since then, no one's really known what the hell is going on with s1mple and what his plans are. Meanwhile, back on NAVI, the s1mple-less roster was doing relatively fine in his absence. In fact, fast forward to the major and they were chugging through the stages, proving everyone wrong at every step. Funny story, as it turns out, the team's really good and won the major.
NAVI, the first team to lift a major trophy in CS2. You're champions of the PGL Copenhagen Major. It's NAVI!
Alexi B isn't some fraud IGL. IM can find impact without top fragging, Bit can actually play on an international squad, JL is him, and Wonderful can fill the shoes of the greatest player on the planet. But it was while they were on this march to the top where whispers started to spread, asking the same question. Does NAVI actually need s1mple? Now, the obvious answer is no. They won a damn major without him, so clearly not. I know that some people are now saying that NAVI's win was a fluke because they had a sub 50% round win percentage and blah blah blah, but that's all cope to me. Listen, it is very, very hard to win a major, and I'm pretty sure every team in the top 8 only cares about that final result. I don't see Kerrigan putting an asterisk on NAVI because they might have gotten clapped on a few maps. Sure, you can ask the question about whether or not they can keep up this performance after the major, since many teams have struggled in the past post-win, but that's going to be a wait and see type of deal. Anyway, for a more detailed answer to the question of whether or not NAVI actually needed s1mple or not, there is a piece of evidence that may support the latter, provided by HLTV. In a report done by NeroCS, it seems that many of the players on NAVI performed better after the GOAT took his absence. Bit, JL, IM, they all improved their overall rating and impact. What's more is Wonderful, who was stepping in to replace s1mple, seemingly did 1-to-1. Now, to be fair, these stats only go up to January 24th, but still, if we look at the past 3 months, despite IM and Bit falling a little, JL and Wonderful have continued to shine. Now, what does all of this info actually mean? Well, you can look at it a few different ways. Knowing what we know now about s1mple's struggling attitude towards the end, one might suggest that he was creating an environment where certain players couldn't thrive. Another interpretation could suggest that s1mple's star power in the server often subtracts from the impact of other players. However, Wonderful coming in and matching s1mple's rating while everyone else continues to improve does poke a hole in that logic. Maybe NAVI were also just destined to be a great team, and they just needed a little bit of time to click with or without s1mple. Listen, I'm sure there are plenty of other ways we can continue to dissect this question of does NAVI need s1mple, but we'd be here all day. Plus, I don't actually think this is the real question people want to ask. What I really think is people are wondering, would NAVI have still won with s1mple? I am not going to sit here and even remotely suggest that NAVI never needed s1mple. Yes, for a while he had some of the best supporting cast members you could ask for, but s1mple isn't the GOAT because his teammates are good. He's a 3-time HLTV Player of the Year, his consistency throughout his career is staggering, and his utter domination throughout 2021 should be studied in universities. Plus, he was the MVP of the first major NAVI won. The org simply wouldn't be where they are today without him. That being said, s1mple clearly isn't in the same form right now. For a while, we didn't know really what was going on with him. I personally doubt he all of a sudden lost his skill because of the move to the Source 2 engine, but something obviously changed. My guess is that it was always a mix between personal conflicts on top of motivational issues. Listen, I'm not him, but hear me out. It's 2021 and s1mple is by far the best player in the world and finally won his major. But now his home is being invaded, his IGL is benched after their entire personal life is aired out, and the org is constantly trying to fill in these gaps left by all these outside conflicts. And while s1mple is getting frustrated with these stand-ins that are tasked with competing at a major winning level for him, other teams are getting stronger and more cohesive. But then CS2 comes out, it feels like shit, and s1mple's skill, the one thing he knew he could control, starts to dip. Imagine the type of toll that would take on someone. Once again, I'm not s1mple, and in no way do I want to speak for him. This is only an armchair analysis from what I saw play out over the last few years. But even if a fraction of it is true, I sympathize with him wholeheartedly. As I said a few times, for a while it was pretty much radio silence from s1mple. We got a couple updates here and there from his streams, but he rarely tweeted, and it seems like he hasn't played Face It since March 19th. However, last week we finally got a small update in the form of his vlog titled On the Bench. Now, in most of this, he was just hanging out, driving around, and playing FIFA, but there were a few nuggets we got about his current relationship with CS2. For starters, s1mple does seem to be cooking up some sort of Counter-Strike program that sounds like it could be similar to Fallen's Games Academy of yesteryear. And that would be dope. Helping people improve in CS is great, and it shows that he still cares deeply about this community. There were also moments in the vlog where it seemed like s1mple was being incredibly vulnerable. He truly seems to be reflecting on his life right now.
We are living without silence in our life, and silence really gives you a lot of thoughts for future and for everything what you need to do in life. It helps you to reconsider things in life. Sometimes you can take a pause and just get all your thoughts together to decide or solve the problems that you have.
At the same time, he also admitted that despite wanting to come back and play in front of his fans, his motivations have wavered ever since the switch to CS2. A switch that he's still hung up on.
На самом деле мотивация все такая же, может она чуточку упала, но в целом мотивация стать командой номер 1. Неважно, с какой это командой будет. Чтобы реально осталось CSGO. Вот так вот, если посмотреть, подумать, сделать какие-то такие же апдейты в CSGO. Ну, а так они убрали тикрейт. Все люди в недоумении. На лане одна игра, в онлайне вторая, читеры там, как пробиваться. Короче, будем смотреть и ждать.
It does seem like s1mple has quite a few hurdles to get past, and while I think it is going to take some time still, if any player could do it, it's him. And my god, a revival of s1mple would be glorious. But this has got me questioning about how we might need to stop thinking about NAVI and s1mple as one and the same. Yes, he has gone through a lot with this org, and they helped make history together. And it's entirely possible that he never leaves and just replaces someone. Now, who gets replaced is obviously the catch here. If s1mple is comfortable with the op again, is it worth icing out one of the best looking young talents in the game currently? IM would probably be most people's pick, but if it doesn't work out, then you just lost a player that literally helped you win the most recent major. So maybe he will leave. Maybe his future right now lies with another team. And I'm not talking on loan to Falcons. I mean a real, actual team he signs to. It would be weird as hell to see, but maybe, honest to God, a fresh start is how his comeback begins. The only question now is, where does he go? Who needs s1mple right now? Do you feel like s1mple, if he does leave, we'll see like a, it happens in hockey all the time, and I'm sure football, people leave, but then they'll come back and like sign for one day with like their home org or whatever. Yeah. One last run with NAVI.